Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on the Succah daf Mem Hey, we are going to begin on the very bottom of Mem Dal and Mevez by the two dots, 2 lines on the bottom. Mitzvah Lulav Ketzad. So Tani Kamedu Rav Nachman, Seidrin al Gag Ha'itztaba. It was mentioned in the Mishnah that they would take the lulav and esrog from before Shabbos, and they used to, in the Beis HaMikdash, put it in different places, and then the next day they would come and a person would gather a lulav. And it says it was placed on the gag, literally the roof of the platform. On this, Amalei, Gemara says, as we continue Mem Hamad Aleph, V'chi levaishin hutzarech. Why would you put it on the top where it's going to be exposed to all of the elements? It's going to dry up, and we have mentioned in the third parak that a lulav hagos of a yavish is puzzle. You're not allowed to have a dried up lulav. It's a lack of hadar. Ela ema al gav ha'itztaba. Namely, it's not literally put on the top, but it's put by the platform where it's still not completely exposed to all the elements. Amarach b'alim Rabbi Huda har habayis Steve couple hayistiv lifnim Steve. So he uses this English interesting language that they had these bleachers that one in front of the other, and that is how it was created. Next Mishnah, Mitzvah Rabbi Ketzad. So now we're going to go and explain the Mitzvah of a Rabbi in better detail. Mokum Hayil Matim Yerushalayim Menikra Moitza. So there was a place which is called Moitza. We'll discuss the significance of that name. And over there, Yarden Lasham, they would go down, Malaktin Misham Maravi Yishel Rava. And that's where they used to take the willows from that location. And they would take the Arav, as we mentioned in yesterday's daf. One Kohen was able to do this, and they put it, and we'll see exactly where it was put, on the side of the Mizbech. Rashehim Kafufin al Gabin Mizbech, and the top was actually kofuf, was tipping over on the top. Taku Bariu V'Taku. So what they did was they blew shofar. B'chol Yom Makifin Es Mizbech Pamachas. Every time they would go around the Mizbech, once, just like when we do Hoshanas every day of Sukkot, that's what it was done in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. They used to make those decorations like we say in Hallel, which is at the very end that we say in Hoshana Rabbah. So Ani Baho, Rashi says, Gematria Ana Hashem. It's the same numerical values on Hashem. Says Rashi, furthermore, V'od b'shivim u'shtayim shemos hayu, the 72 names hanekuvim b'shalosh mikrois hasmuchim b'parsha v'ahi b'shalch v'yasa. Okay, so this actually has deep meaning beyond just the words. Ayin Rashi. V'osa hayom. So that's what they would do. But on that day, which is referring to Hoshana Rabbah, on the 7th day, Makivan is Mizbech Sheva Pamim, which is what we do. We go around 7 times. B'shas Betirasa, at the time of our departing, when we're finished, Mahin Oimrim, we said Yoifel Chamizbech, Yoifel Chamizbech. So we would compliment and say how beautiful and wonderful the Mizbech is. Rabbi Lezer Omer, L'ka v'l'cha mizbeach. To you, Hashem, and to you is mizbeach. L'ka v'l'cha mizbeach. Fine. Kimasehu b'chol, kach masehu b'Shabbos. The way that they would do this, as we mentioned, on a weekday, they would do the same procedure on Shabbos as well. But shahayu malaktin oisin me'erev. They didn't actually gather them up from Moitza, that location, on that day, but rather they did it on Erev Shabbos. And they put it in these like golden pitchers. We didn't want them to wither and dry out. They used to take these palm trees, and this is what all the kids love, and they whack it and bang it onto the ground. The Sidim is back on the side of his back. And on that day it was called the hitting of, as Rashi says, anafim the branches. So the Mishnah is good according to the Rambam, who says that you need to hit it against the ground, or perhaps Rashi, it means you should shake it. As you recall, when we said in the previous Rashi, chovut is nanea, to shake it. So the question is there an actual chiyuv to hit it? And the question is exactly what are you accomplishing by hitting the aravos? It seems to be a difficult ceremony to understand, and one which is certainly done maybe a little bit more than necessary. The kids used to grab the lulav and they would eat the esrogim. Says Rashi, Hagedolim shaimtin es lulavi hakatanim miyadam b'shvi. They would take them and they would eat the esrogim. V'ein bedavar lo mishum gezel, it's not stealing, lo mishum darchi shalom. Shekach nagam machmas simcha. Everyone was happy, so it was not a big deal that people took it. It wasn't something which showed a lack of respect. Okay. Right. Tana makam kaln yahavi. So the Gemara says that this place was actually kalnya. Says Rashi, bin chayrin min hamas shel melech. So Tana di done my tam lekarli moitza, I did the mepik mikarga de malka. In this area, the king, for whatever reason, absolved any people from having to pay taxes. Karile moitza, like the one who is you're out, like you're exempt. You're the person that does not have to pay taxes for whatever reason, and therefore that's the reason why it developed that particular name. So he said it's draped over the mizbeach. The sarava tana obviously was quite a big arava, big willow. So let's see how big. Rabbis varuchais v'gavoyis. It was wide. It was long, and very big. Echad aser amma. It was actually 11 amos. That's how long it was. Kadeshehi goychais al mizbeach amma. So it could actually be swaying over the mizbeach an entire amma. So Omer Meremer Mishem Mar Zutra Shma Mina Al Yisaid Manalchahu. So we learn it must be that the arava, which based on its size, must have been on the Yisod, as we're going to see, not on the ara, the actual ground. It could have been put on the ground, or it was on the Yisod, which is the next level. So how do we know that that's the case? So let's say, imagine that the arava, which is 11 amos, was on the ground. So ol amma v'kanas amma zeh. From the ground to the top to the yisod, the foundation, is an amma up and an amma in. Ol chamish v'nichnas amma zehu sovev. The next level is the sovev, which goes up 5 amos, and it goes in ol chamish v'kanas amma. It goes in an amma. Ol shalosh zehu makom kronos, and it goes from the sovev to where the kronos begin. That is another 3. Ol shalosh zehu makom kronos. Goychas al gabi hamizbeach heichem mishkach. So how is it possible that it can actually be goychas, which means even over the kronos, which is also an amma? It must be heichem mishkach el yisoid manach lahu shmamina. Because if again you're putting it and it's not like going straight up. If it's going straight up, it's not 11 amos high. But if it's bent, right, based on this angle, so if it touches the ground and it's now bent, so it's to get to the yisod is more than 1, and then you have another 5, but again it bends in, so it's taking up more space. So if you will, it goes up 1 and then in 1, so that's 2, and then it goes up 5, which is up to 7. That goes in, that's already 8, and then it's 3 up, which is 11 already, which means it's just going to touch the very tip of the kronos. So it must be it was put on the yisod, and therefore for that reason it got an amma higher. So this way it was able to get to drape over an amma. That's the only way it's possible. So therefore it was put on the Yesod. Why was it 11 amos? Again, that's the idea behind all this. Okay. Amar Rabbi Avo, Mikra, what pasuk shows this? As we said, then of Halal, Shnemar Isruchag Bavoisim Ad Karnos HaMizbeach. That regarding the placing of the on Chag, on Sukkot, Barvoisam, which is the Arava, is Ad Karnos HaMizbeach, goes all the way up until the Kranos and even above it. Amar Rabbi Rabbi Lezer, Kol Naitulula Begudai Vadas Buvasai. Anyone who takes the lulav and hadas and everything together, wrapped up properly, it's like you built the mizbech properly and you were making a carbon on it. Someone who takes the lulav esrog properly. Shnemar, as it says in Mem Haman Beis, so again, we're learning that if a person takes the avoisim, one who takes the aguda, the isur actually says, as the aguda shalulav, the wrappings of the lulav, and barvasim, Rashi says the hadas shu avos shel gimel banim, because it has these 3 on each nest, 3 leaves. So then it's ad karnos mizbeach. It's like you built a mizbeach, and you're making a carbon. So that's the second shot of this pasuk. So it's kedai to know this. We say Hallel all the time. So this pasuk is first of all telling you about the arava which draped over the mizbeach, ad karnos mizbeach, or it's saying anyone takes the lulav and esrog. It's you built a base, built a mizbeach, and you're making a carbon. Rabbi Yomi Mishar B'Shimon Yochel Rabbi Yochanan Mishar Rabbi Shimon HaMechlizi Mishum Rabbi Yochanan HaMekuti Kol Ha'isa Isser L'Chag Bechil L'Shtia. Anyone who makes additions to the holiday of Sukkot by increasing their eating and drinking during that day, says Rashi, Shikar L'Chag Oinig B'Meichel Mishnah Yishim Yom Shul Acher HaChag. Some say Isser Chag is actually referring to the day after Sukkot. You extend it. Isser Chag, that's what we call the day after Sukkot, or after the Yom Tov, is Isser Chag. So some, again, according to Rashi, the Yesh Oimrim is Yom Shul Acher Chag. It's not talking about Yom Tov, it's talking about the day after Yom Tov. But if you still are marbe in Echil and Shtia, Shel Shem Shemayim, that Yisrocha Bavoisim, if you are engaged in this, then Ad Karnos Mizbech, it's like, again, you built a Mizbech. Okay. Amarav Chizki, Amarav Yirmish, Shimon ben Yochai, Kol HaMitzvahs Kulon, Ein Adam Yirtzi B'hem, El Derech K'di Lasa. The way that you're Mekayim a mitzvah has to be the way that that item actually grows, which will therefore include, of course, the esrog. Pit them up. What's the meaning pit them up? Because that's how it grows. That's derech achilasan. But how do we know that that's the case? Shnemer atishitim oimdim. So we learn it out from the wooden beams that supported the atishitim, these wooden beams that compiled and made the mizbeach, made the mishkan. So they were oimdim. They stood up the same way that they grew. That's how you were supposed to create these atishitim, these beams of acacia. So too, when it comes to any mitzvah, it's supposed to be done derech kidilasam, not just atishitim, which answers question 10. So we went out from atishitim oimdim. Another thing that we learn out from that, which is also brought down at the end of Masechtas Yuma, Tanya Mahachi, atishitim oimdim, she'oimdim derech kidilasan. As we said, it grows, it stands the way it grows. Davar oimdim shemamidin es sipuyin, which means that the wooden beams supported their gold platings. Davar acher oimdin shematimer abad sivram ubato sichvayim. You would think that they're lost in their hope and they're lost and destroyed. That they will continue to stand for all of eternity. Says Rashi, Mishin Nignaz, Oil Moyed. From the time that the Oil Moyed, the Mishkan, was hidden, Bataloi Alamis. You would think that they were basically gone. No, they still are around. They're Oimdim Olam Loyom Alamis. They're literally standing those beams forever. Even though we don't have a Mishkan, but those things didn't just disappear. Rashbi, Yochani lifter es kolam kulam in a din. So this was said in the name of the Rashbi, that he was so great that he could pop the entire world from being harsh judgment. Miyom shibarasi ad ata, from the day that I was born until now. Vilmole Eliezer b'ni imi, if my great son Eliezer, who was together with the Rashbi in that cave for 12 years and 12 months, the whole story we learn about Lag BaOmer, no coincidence on Daf Lag Lamed Gimel Masechta Shabbos, says if my son was included, Miyom Nivra Oilam V'ad Achshav, from the day in which the world was created until now, which some people say, well, doesn't really sound so great about himself. He was only able to pater his own generation, but with his son, thousands of generations, thousands of years. And of course, as it's explained, there's no comparison an individual as opposed to together coupled with another individual. Bilmoli, which explains over here, Yosim ben Uziyahu, Imanu, if Yosim was together with us, the three of us would be able to withstand and hold up the world from all the way from the beginning of time until the end of time. Says Rashi, Sadikaya, the on of Yosim is Shar Malachim. Yosim, which most people don't know much about, but he was a great tzaddik. He was humble more than any of the other kings. And furthermore, Rashi says something else about Yosim. We should know who he is. V'zacha b'kibud aviv. He was zeicha in honoring his father. V'alav nemar ben yichaved av. Shekol hayamim shahi aviv mitzayra. Whenever his father was had saras, v'havile shayfet aretz. Techsiv v'yosim shayfet v'nato olav keser malchus b'chayiv. He never took the keser malchus in his lifetime. V'chol dinim shayadan ayrim b'shem aviv. And anytime he judged, he would always quote his father. So he was a very great and humble person, and therefore, because of that, the Rashbi, together with his son, and Yosim, would be able to save the world from all time. Okay. Furthermore, says this very fascinating Rashbi. He says as follows: the Rabbi Yomi Mishum Rav Shimon Yochai. And I see the people that are Bnei Aliyah, the people who are holy, people who are great, people who are tzaddikim, who are fit to be makabel, the Pnei Shechina. There's very few of these people in the world. The great ones in this world, there's very, very few of them. Im elef hein ani uvnei mehen. If somehow you want to think there's 1,000 of them, me and my son are among them. Im me'ahem ani uvnei mehen. If there's 100, me and my kid are included. Im shnayim hein ani uvnei hein. If there's only 2 in this world, it's me and my son. Which means that he basically said regarding himself, even though the other person, Yosim, Rashi says an anav, he speaks very highly of himself. But again, that doesn't show doesn't show gaiva. That shows that he knows his place. Is there so few people who are Bnei Aliyah? There's like 18,000 rows of officers of great people in front of Hashem. So it says 18,000. So kasha ha distalka bespaklari ha'meira ha delo mistalka bespaklari ha'meira. Of course, it's a little bit difficult to understand what this means, but those people who are so close, they are able to actually see the light of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem. That is mu'atin. That's something which is quite limited. It says Rashi, Aspaklari is machitza shechitzetzes b'nei ha'mashchina, that which separates between them and the Shechina. Me'ira kisharoya zu sharoyin ba v'yesh tzadikim shein me'iru lehen kolkach. They're not able to see the greatness of Hashem so well. Ben yochalim lirois mamish. They can't actually see Hashem. Those people are very few. So for the Gemara, the mistakli b'spaklari ha'me'ira mizitri kol yahai, the people that have greater ability to connect and to see Hashem in a very profound and real way, is it true that so few? Va'omer Abaya, Moipachlis Alma, Mitlasim Ashisa Tzadiki. We are familiar with the Lamed Vubniks, the 36 Tzadikim. So this is a remez to it. And the Gemara says the world will never not have at least 36 tzaddikim that makabli api shchina b'chol yoyim, that are makabel the shchina every single day. Shenemar asher koil choichi lo. Now, what exactly does the word lo over here mean? So lo is also spelled lamed vav, was the gematria tlasna v'shisa havi, which is a numerical value of 36. So we know at least there's 36 people. So okay, you're right. There are 36 people that are able to mistakli and bismaklari ha'me'ira. However, l'kasha hadi al bivar, hadi al belovar. Some people will come with a knock and with permission, and some people can go even without permission. So, in other words, to be able to go and connect to Hashem at any moment, even so to speak, without the knock, without the reshus, that is something which is very, very few. Those people who may be able to be mistakel baspaklari ha'me'ira of the 36, they at least need to have reshus before they're able to connect to Hashem. However, the other people who may be 18,000, they're not even on the level of being mistakel baspaklari ha'me'ira. Okay, exactly what does that mean? It's a little bit difficult to understand these different levels of connection to Hashem, which obviously shows that I'm not part of the 18,000, I'm not part of certainly the 36, and certainly I'm not to be included in the short list of the Rashbi, his son, and Yosef. So the question is, what was said at the end of this whole ceremony on the seventh day? The question is, how could we say, as the Mishnah tells us, Ani v'hoya shiana, and we also say, which is Ani, I, and Hashem, right? That seems very difficult, because how could you say yourself and Hashem in the same sentence? Or l'ka, l'cha, mizbeach. These don't seem to be proper. After all, the Gemara tells us right here, you cannot be mishtatef Shem Shemayim and someone else. You can't include the two Hashem and a person in the same sentence. You're going to be uprooted from the world. Shnemer built Hashem levadai. So you should only mention Hashem, nothing else. So Hakikamer. This is how you understand the pasuk. It means l'ka to Hashem anachnu moedim. We are admit to. V'lecha anu mishavchem. And to you Hashem we are praising. So it's not that, or l'ka anachnu moedim, v'lecha anu mikalsin. To you Hashem we're praising. It's not l'cha, it's not to you people. No. L'cha is talking about Hashem also. Okay. Weiter. Just like the ceremony was on the weekdays, so it was on Shabbos, except they would bring it before Shabbos. My time Rav Yochanan ben Broka. What's the reasoning? So the Ksiv Kapos Shnaim, we said Achas Lulav, the Achas Mizbeach. So there's also an Indian of taking the Rabba by the Mizbeach. Rabbanan Amri, Kapos Ksiv. The Rabbanan say no, it says Kapos, which is Lashon Yachin, therefore you can't make this drasha. Rav Levi Omer Katamar. The reason why it says like this is that we compare the Klal Yisrael to a date palm tree. Ma tamar zeh ein lo el lev echad. It only has this one heart, means one main leaf, the teyomis. Af Yisrael ein lohem el lev echad lavim shoshamayim. Just like the lulav has this one leaf that everything is attached to, it's all to this one. So too, Klal Yisrael, we only all of our hearts are directed to Avim Shemat Shemayim. So we're going to stop there, because that's going to talk about another piece, which we'll see, very fascinating, relatively easy daf, which we'll see tomorrow. Let's see, any more questions? So we discussed, there's only one question on this daf. So he says because of Atishitim Oindim. TA 25. Mahaya Gavoy HaRabbis B'Mizbeach 11 Amos Ve'al Mahayu Mamid Noisan. It was placed on the sod. Okay. TB 25. Ma Nilman Mikarshi HaMishkan. What do we learn out from the planks, the crush them on the Mishkan? Madal Minim Shel Sukkos, that it has to be done derech Gedilah Son. Adkan.